19.3 Dynamic Memory Management Functions. So far, I have explained the organization of the memory, computer memory, number one. Number two, the need for dynamic memory management. Now, let us see the set of functions meant for dynamic memory management. Before studying the subject, two crucial words we have to learn. That is, first one is compile time, second one is runtime. These two words very frequently we use. Compile time means the time in which the source code is converted into object code. That means, suppose this is your source code file. Source code file is converted into next stage object code. This duration, the conversion from to source code file to object code file, the time is compile time. There, compiler plays the role. Compiler takes the active part. After compilation, test object is over, then processor takes up the job. The processor ultimately executes all the instructions provided by object file. Then that time the processor ultimately provides output. That time is called runtime. That is, simply you can understand compile time and execution time. Compile time is meant for translation of the source code into object code, and object code means ultimately exe code, because once library is linked up into this, object code is converted into exe code. That means this is the period. Test C to test exe is the compile time. Once this file is available, this is in the low level. That means what processor is expecting, what type of instructions processor is expecting, that type of language. Then processor can understand all the instructions and then instruct to the hardware, and output of the program is generated. This is runtime, or otherwise execution time and compile time. These words very frequently used, and you must remember actual meaning of that. So yesterday also I used that. Actually, when we create an array, then it is created at compile time, because at compile time we are giving the size. In case of dynamic memory, that array size is created at runtime, but at the execution time, not at compile time. Okay, that is the difference. And here, one more example I have to tell you about the flexibility of data. Actually, in real-time environment, the size of the data is flexible. Every time it changes, and for one run to other run also it may be changed. Now, suppose one example, a simple example I give. Suppose 1 to 1000 numbers you have given as input, 1 to 1000. Then you have to build an array of prime numbers. Then let us say there are 221. Next run we have same prime numbers from 1500 to 2500. Then these numbers are changed. Another set of numbers also will be changed. So that array may not require or may require more memory. Understand? In the same manner, if you take a real-time example, Suppose in a company, on a particular point of time, there are 10,000 shareholders. After 3 months, the number of shareholders is changed. Why it is changed? Many of the shareholders may purchase shares and may sell shares. Suppose one shareholder, just a simple example I am telling you, one shareholder who is having 5,000 shares sold off, in turn 10 people purchase that. Now 1 minus and 10 plus. For the 10,000, 1 minus and 10 plus. Suppose one shareholder already is having 1,000 shares. He purchased 10,000 shares from 20 people. Then what happens? From this 10,000, 20 is minus, but no addition, because already is a shareholder. The shareholder having one share or 10,000 shares is treated as a single shareholder. So that's why what happens here, 20 shareholders sold their shares, then he purchased from them. Now no addition, deletion. This type of hundreds of transactions happen. Then that's why next after 3 months, what would be this number? Suppose on 1st January, 10,000 shareholders are there in the company, and 1st April, and what is the number? Nobody can guess, because many transactions will happen, many pluses, many minus will happen. Ultimately, this figure may be 625, 6,250, or 21,200, like this. So in this way, in real-time environment, mainly data, the size of the data is fluctuating. That's why we cannot decide at compile time how much memory is required for the data. At execution time only, how much memory size is required to store the data is known. That's why this dynamic memory management is required. Now, let us come to the subject. These are dynamic management functions. Actually, these are not part of the C language. C language does not provide any functions, and C language standard library provides one header file, standlib.h. This provides mainly 4 functions for dynamic management. Those are malloc, talloc, free, and realloc. 4 functions totally it provides. Malloc mainly deals with primary data types like int, float, and all that. Suppose the int size is 2. 10 ints are required. 10 into 2, 20 bytes memory is allocated. Malloc, just as a matter of principle, you understand, malloc deals with primary data type. Talloc deals with the blocks. Blocks means derived data types or secondary data types like arrays, structures, unions, etc. Next, free. Suppose memory may be dynamically allocated in 2 ways: by a primary data type variable, or a set of variables, or a block of memory, or set of blocks of memory. Memory may be allocated by the 2 functions. These are explicitly by the programmer, these are created. Compiler has no role. Explicitly, programmer, according to his requirements, is creating memory like this. So it is the mere programmer's responsibility to deallocate. These are created on heap. So deallocation purpose, the 3rd function, free, is available. Later we discussed the clear functionality of all these functions separately. And the fourth one is reallocation, realloc. Realloc function. Suppose you got allocated 20 bytes. This should be modified to 40 bytes or modified to 10 bytes. Then it should be modified. For the sake of modification, realloc function is created. So, in this topic, mainly we have to study the features and functionalities of these four functions. Malloc deals with primary data type variable, and talloc deals with derived data type like arrays, strings, structures, unions, etc. Realloc, free. Whatever memory is allocated dynamically, either by malloc or calloc, can be freed, deallocated. So then only operating system can allocate that memory to some other purpose. Otherwise, it is permanently blocked. It is also called memory leakage. Little later, I will explain that concept. And realloc, whatever data you allocated, either by malloc or calloc, should be modified. Whatever space, memory space you got allocated, may be required to be modified. Then by using realloc, we can do that. All these functions are stored in stdlib.h. Before studying the functionalities of malloc function, we have to understand certain facts. Malloc is a dynamic memory management function. So, it allocates memory on the heap. On the heap memory, we cannot give names. We deal with the pointers only. That means we can get space allocated on heap like this. Whatever amount of space we require, we can get it allocated. Next, if the space is allocated on stack, we can give a name. We can give a name and we can access it. But here, on heap memory, we cannot give names. Then we can get memory allocated and returns a pointer. Returns a pointer. That point you have to remember. Malloc function allocates whatever amount of memory we require and returns a void type pointer. Void type pointer. This is a new concept. Earlier, I introduced void in one context. That is, when we dealt with functions, a set of functions, some functions do not return any value. The return type should be specified by void. That much you know. Now this is different. Malloc function returns a void pointer. Void pointer cannot be used directly. Void pointer should be typecasted into any type. It can be typecasted integer int type. It can be typecasted float type. It can be typecasted char type. This is typecasting. Typecasting already you know. Already for primary type variables we are typecasting. Now pointer we have to typecast. That's why we have to typecast it. Once void pointer typecast it converts into integer type pointer, floating point type and character type and all. What do you need of that? Just to understand. Just go back to the pointers. In the beginning of the pointer, one rule I explained. What is that? This is int v, int pv. PV is and v. Float f, float pointer pf. Pf is equal to f. Char c, char type pointer pc. Pc is and c. This I explained. The pointer type, the variable type and corresponding pointer type should be same. That we learned. So here, if you store integer type data, then its pointer should be integer type. If you store floating point type data, the pointer should be floating point type. If you store character data, the pointer should be character type. Subject to this principle, we have to typecast it because it is a void, it returns void pointer. Malloc function returns void pointer. So, void pointer should be converted into typecast into different type, whatever type we want. That is compulsory. So, here don't have any confusion. Pointer is always an address. Why it should be float type, char type and all that? That question you don't raise. Already in pointers chapter I explained. The same concept we extend here. It returns void pointer. That's why if you store integer data, you typecast it as integer type. If it is a floating point, typecast it to float type. If it is a character type, typecast into character type. Now, I show you the specific syntax of the malloc function. By that, the two concepts you can understand very easily. Now, what I told you, malloc function is meant for primary types. Primary type for int, one int or more ints, or float or more floats, it allocates. How you can write the syntax? Suppose I want to get allocated memory on the heap for 20 integer values. I want to store 20 integer values. Then what should I do? Then size of operator we frequently use, size of int. Now just you can understand that size of int on 16-bit machine 2 and 32-bit machine or more is 4. Next 20, 2 into 20, 40. Malloc allocates memory on heap and it allocated. Now, but it returns a void type pointer. But here I am storing integer values. So that pointer should be typecast into int. Then you store it. Okay, one more example I show you for float. Suppose I want to store 10 floats. Then size of float, you write. This is malloc function, got allocated one block of memory on the heap. Then what should I do? Float, then pointer. Understand? This is the syntax. So, in this program you see how we are making typecasting 19.1. A void type pointer is there. Always, whenever if I write like this also, if you write the notation like this, then it will be clear. Then PTR size is void type pointer. Readability is good and concept wise is also good. So always you practice it, and sometimes if I do this also, it is correct syntactically, no problem. But if you put it here, it is more meaningful. Now you see I am typecasting a pointer into integer type, 13th line, and typecast a pointer into floating point type, and typecasting a pointer of void type into character type. In that way, we have to make the typecasting.